Hello out there. Um, it's me again, Avran. Today I wanted to talk about this thing that um, I've called it a emotional borderline. Um, I don't know why or what to call it, or um, I've talked to my doctor about it, and I thought it was kind of like being bipolar, but it's not because he's explained it to me and told me the definitions of being bipolar. So I know that that's not it. Um, but for those of you who don't know, I'm dealing with depression, and it's a little easier to say, being that this is my third video, and I want to get into it just because it's important to me. It's something that has a major impact. One of the things that are hardest, that hits you the hardest, with having depression. Trying to explain it, having depression, this emotional borderline, um, I guess you can think of it as a roller coaster, or you can think of it as maybe the um, the seismograph of when earthquakes happen. Um, for me, all these ways of describing this thing, to me, is it's hard because right now I think I'm okay right now. I'm at the middle, and it's like you're at the roller coaster and you're just starting. Things aren't scary. Things aren't out of control. Things aren't upside down, and so um, everything is level. Everything's uh, evenly paced and going smoothly. And so, of course, right below that is your depression, and it's being maintained, and it's being handled the point where you don't have to feel like, you don't feel so bad, you don't feel so out of control or emotional. So um, you're going along on this roller coaster, and then um, it just takes a turn. Takes a turn for the worst, or it's something scary, or something that just sparks or sets off. The doctor calls them triggers, but it sets off something in your mind that reminds you of pain, or reminds you of a time when you weren't comfortable with it, or you weren't happy with a choice or a decision or an outcome or conflict. But yeah, so that's kind of how I define it. And for me, when it gets out of control, it's just, oh, it's bad. I mean, just a few days ago, um, I I well, actually last week I saw the doctor and I told him about the videos, and he was really happy about it, and he definitely was happy that I was being vocal and voicing what's going on and how I interpret it, because of course he sees it from a medical aspect, and I just see it from my own two eyes, from how I live with it, deal with it. So getting back to it though, during the weekend, like I said, I'm married and I'm dealing sometimes with having marital issues, or just having conflict with being married. Um, I was doing okay, and like I said, the depression is right underneath, and it's being maintained and it's being controlled. But when you have things that set you off or trigger you, it drops out from under you, and it makes you go crazy and loop the loop, and um, just goes into this turmoil, these crazy turns, and you just feel horrible. You just feel um, like I said, out of control, and it brings on sadness, and it brings on confusion and emotion, and you're overwhelmed, and you kind of implode. You don't explode because it doesn't come out, especially in my situation, in my the way I deal with things. It doesn't come out. It implodes, and it makes everything inside um, out of its normal uh, position or normal um, setting. And like I had mentioned before about the gumballs, having gumballs in a jar of different sizes, it just shakes all those gumballs up, and they resonate, and there's a vibration or something in them that makes them um, uh, resurface. I mean, if that's the best way I can describe it, and it's just overwhelming. You're overwhelmed with emotion and memory, and um, not the visual aspect of it, but just the feelings of what happened. And when I was younger, I went through, um, a difficult time with my mother, wanting me to do things um, her way, and I wanted to do something else, and so that was something that hit me hard. And as I got older, like I mentioned, I worked for the sheriff department, and so that's just something there. And so all these things just implode, and then, like I said about being married and having conflict there, you just feel sad. You just feel um, bombarded, and then again alone. Being alone sets in, that nobody can understand, and then it goes back to what I told you, that for the people who don't have major depression, or who aren't in my shoes, or people's shoes that are in the same or worse condition, you don't see it through our eyes, and so it's hard for us. It's hard for me to want to get up like today, the last few days, because I'm trying to balance out. It's hard to get up, and I talked to my buddy, and he says, you just gotta push yourself, and everybody has to do it. And I know he doesn't mean it that way, because he knows what I'm going through, and I try to swallow it. I try to push it back down, and that's the opposite of what the doctors told me I have to do. He says I have to let it out. I have to be vocal and say what's on my mind, and feel the feelings and feel the emotion. And I do. And see, like right now, I am feeling it, but because I'm alone, because I'm by myself, and I can't share it with other people. And so that's a main reason why I make these videos. But just waking up in the morning, just getting out of bed, it's like you can't move. You're imprisoned by so much, by emotion, by inadequacy, um, being at the wrong place of your life. I don't know, just so much it keeps you from just starting. The hardest part is starting your day. So again, that was just an insight to how I see things. And I mentioned about my doctor hearing about the videos, so maybe he might listen and give a portion of his interpretation of some of the videos I do. So you might see that sometime. But yeah, you have to take it one day at a time, and even starting that day is so hard. yeah, today and the last few days have been really hard for me. So, again, so I made this video to be vocal and to share it with you, and hopefully, um, uh, you know, it hits the right person. And like I said, at least one person is enough for me. Um, I hope to get better at the videos. I hope to learn how to express things more. And right now, it is really, really hard. And I'd be surprised if you gotten this far, because I just don't feel like I'm doing it right. But one day at a time. And those days might be really hard to reach, to make it to the next day, because you just don't feel like you want to make it to the next day. You just feel like you want to go to sleep and you don't want to wake up. You just don't want to deal. You just don't want to deal. And I guess that's the best way I can put it, because I don't have a medical term. I don't know what else to put it except that. And like I said, to some people it'll make sense. To those people who know, it'll make sense. So thank you for listening. And yeah, it's hard to talk about, but I think it does help. And again, hopefully you'll hear from me in a few days or something, and I'll get to speak again.